Welcome back. My name is Matt Reiners. I'm the co-founder of Eversound, and we provide an easy-to-use wireless hearing solution that helps combat untreated hearing loss that affects about 65% of senior living residents today. We're dedicated to improving the quality of life of residents by giving them the gift of hearing. But I'm here today, and I'm joined by Micah Hunt, the Director of Sales and Marketing at an English Meadows community. Micah is a Diamond Award winner for Best Practices for 2021, a collaborator extraordinaire, a senior and Alzheimer's advocate, and a fellow Bridge the Gap ambassador. Micah has been on the provider, real estate, and even the vendor side of things and has a wealth of knowledge. I've gotten to know Micah really well over the last 4 years and consider him a friend, but I've known about him for about 4 years. It was actually at a Vala conference. I was super jealous of his jacket that he had on when we both had booths, but I digress. But when it comes to branding, networking, or just giving off an amazing energy and being a great person, no one is better than Micah. So Micah, thanks for joining me today.
Oh man, Matt, this is an honor and a humbling experience. So I'm grateful I get to be a part of your show.
Awesome. Well, I could ask all the questions about being a 3-time girl dad, being a new one myself, but you know, I've seen from afar that I think when it comes to like developing your own brand and welcoming your very welcoming and warm personality, you know, how important do you think it is for a person to develop their own personal brand?
Very important, if at all possible. You know, I mean, I think, you know, it all started actually, and I don't know how many people actually know this, but it actually all started when I was working for a senior magazine, and my Pokemon Go was on the craze. Like anybody had Pokemon Go, doing everything, going out and doing the thing. And so my boss at the time decided to do a fun thing, and I would go to, on average, 3 events a night, 3 nights a week. And I would post everything, you know, taking pictures. People knew that there was a party or an event, Micah was going to be there. And we decided to do a rendition of that and called it Micah Mongo. And what we did is if you saw me at an event during a certain period of time, you would take a picture with me, post it on your Facebook page, and each post would be counted as 1, like a tally. And at the end of the competition, whoever had the most posts would get a free quarter-page ad, valued at like $1,300. And so I went a step further, and on the last day, I bought a Pikachu outfit and dressed up as Pikachu, and I went around to, I think, 8 or 9 communities that day. And what I did is I had a driver, and I would take a picture, and then I would stay there for 45 minutes, and then try to get people to come and see me, take a picture with me. If they saw me that day and got a picture with me, their 1 post would be worth 3. And so those that were following me were like trying to catch up to the point. So that's what I did. Then eventually I just bought the pumpkin suit, and then I bought the Christmas suit. And then after that, I just exploded and just started getting more and more creative with my branding and started posting more. And I started realizing how many people enjoyed it. It brought a smile to them, whether with me or at me. They still smiled.
Hey, still smile.
And I just found that, and they still smile. And I just found that it's important to have your own brand. You know, don't be feeling like you have to be tied to, you know, the company aspect of, well, the company's only allowing me to do this. Be yourself. And I found that being yourself, and like I've seen some of your videos doing with your posts with your daughter, and other things. You're setting yourself your own brand. You know, be yourself. And I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about, you know, how to mirror that with the company you're working for. But especially on LinkedIn, never burn your bridges. You know, if you're branding yourself as an outgoing, you know, person, or, you know, you just have a brand, wherever you go, they're going to want that. And wherever you were, they're going to appreciate your personality, your character, and just the ability to have had, you know, wonderful PR and your brand there. So it's very important, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, what I've noticed with developing one's personal brand is like, we all work with people, right? And you want to be a person first, and creating your own brand is just kind of highlighting you as a person and like really embracing that. And it's really proved to be well for myself as well. And I think it just helps to capture that. And, how do you share that out? It's good. And I think you bring up a good point that kind of leads me to my next question. There's that line between one's personal brand and how do they incorporate it into their place of employment. I've heard sometimes people feel like, they're kind of pigeonholed. They can't really do too much depending on the company. But I even struggle with myself at times, whether with Eversound or myself or, girl dad who helps run Eversound. And I've got a whole team behind me that are the real winners here. But how have you found this to work?
So I think it's how you approach it. I mean, obviously, especially with LinkedIn, everybody thinks that, LinkedIn needs to be personal, not professional. Or professional, not personal. Sorry, got that reversed. But I think, there's a few people that we follow on LinkedIn that have incorporated their kids in there, and you and myself are one. And I think if you do it, in a creative way, in a fun way, and you're, a few people in particular, they actually tag their company logo on the picture or the video, to kind of help incorporate that, it's multi-generational, which is really creative. But I think more and more people, COVID has really changed a lot, as we know, COVID has really changed our perspectives on things. And I feel like COVID has allowed us to be personable. It allowed us to show who we really are as a person, and I think LinkedIn has opened up that opportunity. Like I did a post yesterday of my socks, and my daughter, my middle child photobombed it. She got down to my ankles and was like, I got it. So I added that because I think it's funny. And, and I added that little hashtag photobomb by my middle child and made it fun. And I think you need to do that. And you said it earlier, it shows that personal touch that, we are people, we are human. We're not perfect, even though LinkedIn and Facebook and all the social medias out there make us look like we're perfect, but we're not, and I think especially with LinkedIn, keeping that brand, but also incorporating who you are as a person and being a girl dad of 3, and they're going to get in there at some way, somehow. Actually my interview with my award that I won, they actually included a video of my daughter sneaking into the camera. And that kind of choked me up a little bit. So, but I think it's important to incorporate who you are personally. That doesn't mean that, every post or everything you do is about them, because then you're kind of losing like, okay, what are you doing? Are you worried? Are you caring more about your child, or are you trying to do professional? So I think there is a small line, but I think it's how you implement it into your brand as you go out and do things.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And one thing I've learned is the variety too, of even just a post. Like I could post about my daughter every single day. I mean, I wish I could. It feels like a little bit of like exploitation a little bit. But hey, formula and daycare are expensive. I'm just going to say that. But it's a team effort here in the Reiners household. But it's also about like sharing those professional posts. And I think also a case could be made, especially, people in the sales and marketing role, right? Like personal success usually leads to company success. So if I'm able to showcase that it is helping in what my main KPIs might be, it's helping with the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of how I've seen it go. And then, of course, you got to drop in the little like plugs every now and then and just make sure you're keeping that top of mind. But hey, we're people first, right? And people want to work with people.
Agreed.
And I think with the brand, especially the family, it allows us to be vulnerable, which I find is a really great way to build relationships with people and, helps to build that trust, which is vital to any successful relationship. And
I think there's, some people on LinkedIn especially have started, showing their vulnerability with like anxiety and, showing that it's a real thing. And for professionals, sometimes we hide behind that. And I think it's important that, there is somebody willing to be vulnerable and open about what does anxiety look like, and to go, you can get help. It's okay to say, I need help, and I can talk to somebody that's going through it as well. So I think there's something to say about vulnerability, especially now more so than ever.
Yeah, I think too, you had brought up earlier about social media and sharing, right? It's all a highlight reel. And, I get anxious every day. I get nervous every day. Like every time before I public speak, I get anxious, nervous, excited. I remember I did one the other day and someone came up to me and was like, that was amazing. Like, do you ever get nervous? And I was like, heck yeah, that was like crapping my pants right before I went on. but it's just kind of, we all share this, but it's real, man. I mean, we're all people. And in terms of building the brand, so like, I think also an important aspect is networking, right? And I do think I'm a strong networker, but I think you're one of the best I've come across. I think I know a lot of people. You definitely know more people than me, but how do you think about or like go about networking?
So the way I perceive it and the way I look at it, and maybe this is skewed or being too vast and too broad, but I've always viewed networking as you never know when you're going to need somebody, or you never know who else might need the product or the service. So, even at, conferences, I'll meet with so many people that maybe even have a similar product, but I want to hear their side and I want to hear, their services, or even after a conference, get emails from everybody like, I'd love to talk to you. And I'd love to talk to them too. And, maybe I'm not the right fit, or maybe it's not the right time, or maybe it's just no period. But I like being able to hear it, because then I can know, like, if somebody asks me a question or somebody reaches out and says, hey, I'm happy, I'd love to know more about this product, but have you had any success with it or something? I can go, no, it didn't work out for us, but here's the person I would recommend talking to. And, networking is such a lost art sometimes, or maybe not even a lost art, but it's neglected sometimes, because we just get so fixed on our mindset of, well, I have this contract with this person, they're the only ones I'm going to talk to. Nothing ever lasts forever, especially in senior living. The person that you referred to go there, that person may have left to go somewhere else entirely, and now you're like, well, I don't like the company, I only liked it because they were there. Well, now you didn't open up your opportunity for anywhere. And I think I learned this in previous roles as well, where we were focusing on one particular company, and then when they decided to change their budget or something happened, they decided to change their perspective. Well, we said no to everybody else. Nobody else wanted to work with us. And it's like, you never burn your bridges and you never miss an opportunity. And I think networking just is an important aspect, and being in the new community that I'm in, I love meeting with people and bringing them here, because I'd love for them to see our community. Am I meeting with people on a regular basis? Yes. Is it long? Yes. Is it overwhelming? Yes. Are we going to say yes to every single person? Probably not. But they're in here and they're being touched. They're seeing it, and again, even if we may not have a contract with them, they may still know somebody that would be a good fit for here, and that's a referral. And then maybe then after a few times, then it's like, okay, I'd like to work with you because you actually give us referrals, so there's a lot of give and take on all aspects. I'd love to be able to send people their way if it's the right fit, so I think networking is needed. And I think that's what has allowed me to really branch out so much, because I network with so many people like yourself, which allowed me to do other things. And I don't know if we're going to go into that at all, so I'll wait. But I think the networking has allowed me to, open up doors far more than I had ever before.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. And one of the things I've noticed about networking, and even just become a stronger networker, and I think you do this, is there's so many times I meet people that say they'll do something and then nothing happens, right? And like, just even able to deliver on what you said you would do for somebody helps to build that relationship and build that trust to really do it. And it's not just hey, yeah, we should do X, Y, and Z, and then nothing ever really comes out of it. And I like to help others hit their goals, because I believe in this philosophy of the go-giver, where I'm like, hey, if I can help other people achieve their goals, eventually it's going to come back to me. And I'm always like trying to look for others and get a pulse of what's happening. So if someone does ask me a question where, what's the best place to live, or what's the best vendor to work with, I can give them trusted resources that are part of that network that ultimately just helps them solve a problem and makes me look better in the process. Now, I want to give you an opportunity here, Micah, because I know networking looked a little different during the pandemic and still looks a bit different today. How did you adapt your networking, and can you tell us anything cool you might have done?
It did, and that's one of the ways that I was able to get the Diamond Award. So with the networking, again, like I said before, LinkedIn has changed dramatically over COVID. A lot of people that typically weren't on COVID started getting on LinkedIn. People that weren't on LinkedIn have started utilizing it more, posting more. And that's kind of where I started opening up a lot of opportunities. So I started these virtual Friday presentations where you were a guest speaker as well. And I'm grateful of that. And a lot of people loved it, obviously. They had really cool ideas. But I think that opened up a whole lot of opportunities, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, which my approach was very unique because it was unique. It was a unique ask, to go, hey, I'm doing this Friday presentation and I'd love to have you as a speaker. I think we'll have a certain amount of people show up, and these who are going to show up, would you be willing to be a speaker and share some information about this topic, whatever your company is. And I think that opened up a whole lot more opportunities for me because, I was utilizing LinkedIn. I was only advertising on LinkedIn and only posting on LinkedIn. And that really opened up a whole new realm of connections and networks. And then the other little, I guess, highlight as well is the unique book that I'm writing, focusing on CEOs and founders and, innovators like yourself. And side note for anybody that's watching this, Matt is going to be in this book. And so, yep. And so, highlighting, because what I found in senior living, and you probably know this as well, but there's not a lot of opportunities or missed opportunities for mentorship, raising the next rising star, like who's going to be the next one's going to take over where you and I have either missed a point or failed or not completed. The next generation, like you mentioned before this interview, was like college students. They're that are going to be taking the next level and doing far better, more than what we've ever accomplished, and hopefully doing better than what we ever did. And so the book is kind of highlighting these CEOs and founders and sharing their successes, their failures, especially their failures. So people that are starting out in senior living can know, like, don't feel like if you failed miserably, you spent more money than you should have, you got caught with fraud, doesn't mean that you stop, that you're done, that you never can excel, that you can never move forward and be a CEO. And that's what this book is going to be about. And it will be out, hopefully, if everything goes well, by next year, and still diligently writing. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really good book. It's got about 38 CEOs, founders, top executives, and doctors that work in and around senior living. And it's going to be a really, really good one. It's going to be different. It's going to be unique. And I'm excited for Matt being a part of it as well. So it's going to be good.
Hey, well, I'm honored and humbled myself to be a part of that, Micah. And yeah, maybe I'll just buy that book for a bunch of people. It's kind of like the introductory there, but it'll be my next networking strategy. I'll be giving that up. But Micah, I feel so fortunate and grateful to have gotten to know you and know your experience is all over the place with senior living. And you're one of the people that actually cares, which is just amazing. And thank you for all that you do. And I know you like to think into the future. And so I want to ask, because I ask all my guests, like, if you could give the industry, whether the provider side, the vendor side, the adult child, whoever, just 3 guiding principles as we look into the next, 18, 12 months, what would you say?
I think it's a lot more listening is one of the things, I think that's something that's missed also in senior living, is listening and really acting on what other people are saying and not jumping to a conclusion of what they might be saying and finishing their sentence, but actively listening. And then maybe even repeating back to make sure we know what the question was or what their stress points are. I think the other thing is being inspired. We're in this senior living space. It's draining, it's drowning sometimes, it's overwhelming. All the stories, I was talking to somebody else, and you can't make this ish up, like the things that we hear and see on a regular basis. And I think just being inspired to know that there's more that we can do and there's more that can be done. And then, and maybe inside of that, but be an inspiration to others, bring other people in, be an inspiration to others and let them know that there's an endless amount of opportunities in senior living to do good. And then I think the final note is mentorship, be a mentor to somebody. If you know somebody that's in this industry and they just don't know where to go or where to turn to, pick them up, lead them on, help them, guide them. Maybe if it's, even with you, Matt, you have somebody that's working for your company, but they feel a desire to do something else, to be somewhere. It's like, well, how do you help them? Like, guide them. And I think those are the main points that I would leave behind. And I think that's something that we need to look for in the next 18 months or in the future period.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Micah, thanks so much for joining us here today. I know that a lot of people will find a lot of value in this conversation. So thanks again for participating.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you all to the listeners to supporting Matt and hearing and watching his videos, because they are very awesome.